The encounter and alliance. The UES Intrepid cut through the silence of deep space, its massive fusion engines leaving a faint blue trail as it patrolled the outer reaches of human territory. Captain Ilara Chen stood on the bridge, her dark eyes scanning the tactical displays. The ship was one of humanity's newest vessels, a perfect blend of military might and scientific achievement. After centuries of internal conflict, humanity had finally united under the Earth Coalition, turning their focus to the stars. Captain, we're detecting anomalous readings at the edge of the Arcturus system. Lieutenant Rivera reported, his fingers dancing across the sensor controls. Multiple objects dropping out of FTL. Configuration unknown. Ilara straightened her uniform jacket. Put it on screen. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a cluster of crystalline vessels tumbling through space. Their hulls shimmered with an inner light, elegant and beautiful, but clearly damaged. Behind them, barely visible at extreme sensor range, darker shapes pursued. Are they transmitting? Ilara asked. Communications Officer Patel shook her head. Nothing we can decode, Captain, but there's definitely a signal. They're being hunted, Security Chief Kojima said quietly, his experienced eyes noting the formation of the pursuing ships. Those leading vessels are trying to shield the smaller ones. Ilara studied the situation for only a moment before making her decision. Yellow alert. Move to intercept. Let's find out what we're dealing with. The Intrepid adjusted course, accelerating toward the unknown vessels. As they closed distance, the pursuing ships came into clearer view. Obsidian, angular craft that moved with unnatural synchronization, like insects swarming their prey. The crystalline ships are dropping out of FTL drives, Tactical Officer Walsh reported. Their energy signatures are fluctuating. I'm reading severe damage to their propulsion systems. The pursuing vessels are accelerating. Kojima added, weapons signatures detected. Ilara's jaw tightened. Red alert. Battle stations. Position us between the crystalline ships and their pursuers. The Intrepid surged forward, its shields humming to life as crew members raced to their combat positions. The massive human vessel inserted itself directly into the path of the Obsidian ships, which suddenly halted their advance. We're being scanned, Rivera announced. Intense energy patterns. They're probing our defenses. Let them look, Ilara replied. Broadcast on all frequencies. This is Captain Ilara Chen of the Earth Coalition vessel Intrepid. We offer assistance to the damaged vessels. Pursuing craft, stand down immediately. For several tense moments, nothing happened. Then, without warning, the Obsidian ships attacked. Energy beams lanced out, striking the Intrepid's shields. The bridge trembled slightly, but the defenses held. Return fire, Ilara commanded. Target their weapons systems only. The Intrepid's rail cannons roared to life, launching hypervelocity projectiles that tore through the lead Obsidian ship. The enemy vessel shuddered, then exploded in a silent burst of dark energy. The remaining attackers immediately changed tactics, splitting into smaller groups, attempting to flank the human vessel. They adapt quickly, Kojima noted, adjusting the defensive grid. So do we, Ilara responded. Tactical pattern Epsilon 3. Keep them away from the crystalline ships. For 20 minutes, the battle raged. The Intrepid moved with precision, its weapons finding targets with deadly accuracy. The Obsidian ships fought with eerie coordination, but seemed unprepared for human combat tactics. One by one, they retreated, finally vanishing back into FTL. Damage report. Ilara called out as the last enemy signature disappeared from sensors. Shields at 62%, Walsh reported. Minor hull breaches on decks 7 and 12. Automated repair systems responding. No casualties. Ilara nodded. Good work, everyone. Now, let's see who we just helped. She turned to Patel. Any luck with their communications? They're transmitting again, Captain. I'm routing it through the universal translator, but it's struggling with the syntax. Captain, Rivera interrupted. One of the crystalline ships is approaching. It's the largest one, likely their command vessel. The bridge crew watched as the shimmering ship flew alongside the Intrepid. Up close, its beauty was breathtaking. The crystalline hull contained swirling colors that shifted like aurora borealis. They're requesting permission to send representatives aboard, Patil announced, surprise evident in her voice. I think they want to thank us personally. 4 hours later, Ilara sat in the ship's conference room across from the most extraordinary beings she had ever encountered. The Meridians, as they called themselves, were tall, slender creatures with translucent skin that revealed a network of luminescent veins beneath. Their large, multifaceted eyes refracted light in mesmerizing patterns, and they moved with fluid grace despite Earth's gravity. Their leader, who had taken the name Ambassador Lumina for human convenience, spoke through a device that translated their harmonic language. Your intervention saved thousands of our people, Lumina said, the translator rendering their melodic tones into accented English. The Void Swarm would have consumed our vessels had you not arrived. The Void Swarm? Ilara asked. Lumina's skin darkened slightly, a gesture the humans would later learn indicated distress. They are a collective consciousness that spreads through the galaxy like a plague. They consume everything, resources, knowledge, life itself, to expand their hive. They have already destroyed 7 star systems in our territory. Dr. Ananya Sen, the Intrepid's xenobiologist, leaned forward. You said they consume knowledge. How is that possible? They absorb neural patterns, another Meridian explained. They extract information directly from living brains, adding it to their collective. When they finish with a world, nothing remains but barren rock. Ilara exchanged glances with her officers. And your people? Do you have defenses against them? We are scholars and explorers, Lumina replied. The Meridian Concordance has known peace for millennia. We have advanced technology, but not for warfare. We were unprepared for the Void Swarm's emergence. Where did they come from? Security Chief Kojima asked. Unknown. They appeared at the edges of known space 2 orbital cycles ago. At first, we thought them merely curious, another spacefaring species to welcome. By the time we understood their nature, 3 colony worlds had already fallen. Captain Chen studied the holographic star map the Meridians had provided, showing the swarm's expansion. Their trajectory was clear. After consuming the Meridian systems, they would eventually reach human space. How many of your people remain? She asked. Approximately 4 billion, spread across our remaining worlds and evacuation fleets, Lumina answered. But we are running out of places to flee. The Void Swarm grows stronger with each world they take. Ilara stood and paced the length of the conference room, thinking. Earth had only recently united after centuries of conflict. Their military was strong, but were they ready for an interstellar war? Yet the alternative, waiting for the swarm to reach human space, was unthinkable. She turned back to the Meridians. Ambassador Lumina, I cannot speak for the entire Earth Coalition, but the Intrepid will escort your evacuation fleet to safety. Meanwhile, I'll contact Earth Command with everything we've learned. You would aid us without guarantee of reciprocation? Lumina asked, their luminescent veins pulsing with apparent surprise. Ilara smiled slightly. That's what makes us human, Ambassador. We protect those who need protection. Later, alone in her quarters, Ilara recorded her report to Earth Command. She knew what she was proposing would be controversial. Humanity had only recently achieved peace among its own kind. Asking them to fight for an alien species they'd just met would test that unity. The threat is real, she concluded in her message. The Meridian's data on the Void Swarm has been verified by our own observations. This isn't just their fight, it's ours too. If the swarm isn't stopped, they'll eventually reach our worlds. I recommend immediate mobilization of the fleet and establishment of a defensive perimeter at the Arcturus Gateway. The Intrepid will continue to escort Meridian evacuation ships while awaiting further orders. She paused, Then added, "Throughout human history, we've often asked ourselves if we're alone in the universe. Now we know we're not. And we've discovered that we share something fundamental with the Meridians: the desire to exist, to preserve our cultures and our knowledge. If humanity turns its back now, we risk losing not just potential allies, but our own humanity as well." Ilara ended the transmission and turned to her viewport. The Intrepid flew in formation with the Meridian ships, their crystalline hulls catching starlight and refracting it in dazzling patterns. Behind them, at the edge of sensor range, more Void Swarm signatures had appeared. They were regrouping, adapting, preparing for another attack. The battle was just beginning. The final stand. The Earth Coalition Security Council chamber erupted into chaos as Admiral Wizong slammed his hand down on the table. "This is not our war," he shouted over the tumult. "Captain Chen has overstepped her authority by committing Earth forces to an alien conflict." On the massive display screen, Captain Ilara Chen's most recent report played in a loop. Footage of the Intrepid and 3 other human vessels that had joined her, defending a Meridian evacuation convoy from Void Swarm attacks. The human ships had suffered damage. The Intrepid's hull showed scorch marks from energy weapons that had penetrated its shields. "The Intrepid has lost 17 crew members," General Adama said quietly, silencing the room. "Captain Chen and her allies are holding the line, but they cannot do so indefinitely." President Sophia Okafor stood, her tall frame commanding attention. At 73, she was one of the architects of Earth's unification after the resource wars. She studied the tactical displays showing the swarm's expansion. "Captain Chen made the only decision she could," Okafor said. "The Void Swarm is consuming entire star systems. Their trajectory is clear. They will reach our territory within 5 years. We can fight them now, with allies, or later, alone. If they even come our way," Zhang countered. "There are dozens of systems between Meridian space and Earth." Dr. Imani Okik, Earth's foremost xenobiologist, shook her head. "Admiral, you misunderstand the nature of the swarm. They aren't choosing targets randomly. They're expanding systematically, consuming all available resources and information. Based on the Meridian data, they've increased their territory by 200% in just one planetary cycle. Their growth is exponential." The debate continued for days while Chen and her small battle group fought desperate holding actions. Public opinion on Earth was divided. Many supported helping the Meridians, while others feared involvement in an alien war. The turning point came unexpectedly. A Meridian ship, damaged and pursued by the swarm, managed to reach Sol's system. Emergency protocols brought it to Earth orbit, where its surviving crew shared their experiences firsthand. Images of devastated worlds and Meridian refugees spread across Earth's networks. When a group of Meridian children, their translucent skin pulsing with fear, appeared on global broadcasts, the tide of public opinion shifted dramatically. President Okafor addressed the world that evening. "Throughout human history, we have too often turned away from those in need. Today, we have a choice: to repeat the mistakes of our past, or to become something greater. The Meridians need our help, and one day, we may need theirs." The vote in the Security Council was close, 7-5 in favor of intervention. Operation Bulwark was authorized. Earth would commit 30% of its fleet to defending Meridian space and halting the Void Swarm's advance. When news reached the Intrepid, the exhausted crew celebrated briefly before returning to their duties. They had been fighting continuously for weeks, rotating shifts to maintain combat readiness. "Reinforcements will arrive within 10 days, Ilara told her officers. "Until then, we hold position." Those 10 days tested the limits of human endurance. The swarm attacked relentlessly, probing for weaknesses, adapting to human tactics. But the Intrepid and its sister ships adapted too, developing new defensive formations and weapons configurations. When Earth's main battle fleet arrived, led by the massive dreadnought UES Defiant, it found the Intrepid's battle group bloodied but unbroken. The Joint Human Meridian Defense Force was formally established, with Captain Chen promoted to Commodore and given tactical command. Over the following months, the war escalated. The Void Swarm, facing organized resistance for the first time, changed strategies. Rather than hunting refugee ships, they began targeting populated worlds directly. Scientists from both species worked frantically to understand the enemy. Meridian researchers, with their advanced knowledge of quantum physics, collaborated with human military engineers to develop new weapons. The breakthrough came when they discovered the swarm's neural network relied on quantum entanglement for communication. If we can disrupt their entanglement field, explained Dr. Sen, now heading the joint research team, we can break their collective consciousness. Individual units would be isolated, unable to coordinate. The theory was sound, but putting it into practice required resources neither species possessed individually. Humanity contributed its industrial capacity and military expertise. The Meridians provided their advanced quantum technology and knowledge of stellar engineering. Together, they created the Sunbreaker, a massive device that could generate a quantum disruption wave. The catch: it had to be deployed at the heart of the swarm's territory, and the ship carrying it would likely not survive. When volunteers were called for, every captain in the fleet stepped forward. The mission was ultimately assigned to Commodore Chen and the Intrepid, the ship that had started it all. The final phase of Operation Bulwark began with the largest space battle in human history. 300 Earth vessels and 150 Meridian ships engaged the Void Swarm in the Helios system. Their objective: create a corridor for the Intrepid to reach the primary swarm hub. The battle was brutal. Human and Meridian ships fought with desperate courage, many sacrificing themselves to block swarm vessels from intercepting the Intrepid. The human dreadnought Defiant, its hull breached in a dozen places, positioned itself between a swarm battle group and the Intrepid's flight path, buying precious minutes with the lives of its crew. On the Intrepid's bridge, systems failed one by one as the ship absorbed punishing fire. Hull integrity at 31%, reported Lieutenant Walsh, blood streaming from a gash on his forehead. Engines operating at 67% capacity. Keep our course steady, Ilara commanded, her uniform torn and stained with hydraulic fluid from a ruptured console. Distance to target: 800,000 kilometers, Rivera answered. 7 minutes at current speed. The swarm is converging on our position, Kojima warned. They know what we're doing. Ilara nodded grimly. All power to forward shields and engines. We only need to get close enough. The Intrepid pushed forward, trailing debris and atmosphere from multiple hull breaches. Emergency bulkheads sealed automatically, trapping crew members in sections that would never receive evacuation orders. 500,000 kilometers, Rivera counted down. 4 minutes to optimal deployment range. The Sunbreaker is charged and ready, Dr. Sen reported from engineering. Quantum matrix stable. Suddenly, a massive swarm vessel appeared directly in their path, 3 times the size of the Intrepid. Evasive maneuvers, Ilara shouted, but it was too late. The collision alarms blared as the ships impacted. The Intrepid's forward section crumpled, and emergency force fields struggled to contain the atmosphere. Forward momentum decreased by 60%. Walsh reported through clenched teeth. We're not going to reach the deployment point. Ilara stared at the tactical display, mind racing. Then, understanding dawned. We don't need to. Redirect all remaining power to the Sunbreaker. We'll detonate it here. But Captain, Sen protested over the comm. At this range, the quantum backlash will destroy the Intrepid. I know, Ilara replied calmly. Initiate the countdown. 90 seconds. She opened a ship-wide channel. All hands, this is the captain. Evacuation protocol Alpha. Get to the escape pods. That's an order. As crew members raced for evacuation points, Ilara remained on the bridge with the officers who refused to leave their posts. 60 seconds to detonation, the computer announced. Ilara opened a channel to the fleet. This is Commodore Chen. The Intrepid is initiating the Sunbreaker. All vessels withdraw to safe distance immediately. 45 seconds. On view screens throughout the fleet, human and Meridian crews watched as the Intrepid, surrounded by swarm vessels, began to pulse with building energy. 30 seconds. In the Intrepid's engine room, Dr. Sen made a final adjustment to the Sunbreaker's quantum matrix, amplifying its effect beyond design specifications. The device hummed with power that made reality itself seem to bend around it. 15 seconds. On the bridge, Ilara Chen stood before the view screen, watching as swarm vessels closed in, sensing the threat. She thought of Earth, of the Meridian children she had helped evacuate, of all the worlds that would now have a chance. 5 seconds. She closed her eyes. Sunbreaker activated. A sphere of blue-white energy erupted from the Intrepid, expanding outward at near-light speed. When it touched the first swarm vessels, they didn't explode. They simply fell apart, the quantum bonds holding their structures together dissolving. The wave continued expanding, engulfing swarm ship after swarm ship. Throughout the battle zone, the swarm vessels suddenly lost coordination. Their perfect formations dissolved into chaos as individual units, cut off from the collective, responded to base programming. The human Meridian fleet, recognizing the opportunity, pressed the attack. Without their hive-mind advantage, the swarm vessels were outmatched by the combined tactical expertise of two species fighting for survival. 3 days later, in the Earth Coalition Security Council chamber, Admiral Zhang stood before the assembled leaders, his earlier opposition forgotten. "The Void Swarm has been neutralized," he reported. "Isolated units are being systematically eliminated. The Meridian systems are secure." He paused. The Intrepid and 273 other vessels were lost. Over 12,000 human lives. President Okafor bowed her head briefly in acknowledgement of the sacrifice. "And what of the Meridians?" "Their representatives have requested a formal alliance with Earth," Zhang replied. "They're already sharing technology, faster-than-light drive enhancements, medical advances, cultural databases, and they've extended an invitation for humanity to establish colonies in their territory, as thanks for our intervention." Later that day, President Okafor stood beside Ambassador Lumina in the Grand Hall of Unity. Before them, the Treaty of Mutual Defense and Cooperation awaited their signatures. "Today marks a new chapter in human history," Okafor addressed the billions watching across two civilizations. "For too long, we wondered if we were alone in the universe. Now we know we are not. And we have discovered that courage, sacrifice, and compassion transcend the boundaries of species." Ambassador Lumina stepped forward, their luminescent veins pulsing with emotion visible to all. "The Meridian Concordance will never forget what humanity has done. You fought for us when we could not fight for ourselves. You sacrificed for people, not your own. In our most ancient philosophy, there is no greater virtue." As the treaty was signed, a new memorial was being constructed in orbit around Earth, a massive crystalline structure containing the names of every human and Meridian lost in the conflict. At its center, rendered in both human script and Meridian harmonics, were the words, "They stood against the darkness, not because victory was certain, but because some things are worth fighting for." In the vastness of space, the UES Intrepid was gone, but the legacy of Captain Ilara Chen and her crew would endure, a testament to humanity's capacity for courage, sacrifice, and hope in the face of overwhelming odds. The stars held new promise now, and humanity had taken its place among them.